I believe the job market is basically cooked. There are jobs out there, but they're paying wages that typically tipped workers are making. So if you have a job right now under $20 an hour and you're not being tipped from the generosity of other people making that job viable, so that way the company that you work for can make more money, then you're kind of SOL, sadly. Whether that's construction, you're working a front desk, you're doing childcare, taking care of other people who are in hard times, homeless. You're only a paycheck, I'd imagine, away from also being in the same predicament. I could be completely wrong. These are just my opinions. These videos are not scripted. They're just my thoughts on the world. And I could be full of bullshit. In my experience, from when I entered the job market such a long time ago, probably over 20 years ago, I was making relatively the same amount of money as I make now in a job. And I'll tell you, a lot of things are a lot more expensive. And it's pretty demoralizing when, as you gain more experience, higher education, but yet your quality of life and your wages are not following suit, kind of staying stagnant. And when you stay stagnant, I don't know about anyone else, but motivation really starts to drop. I'm not sure how many people out there feel this way, but I think Americans have been somewhat sold a false bill of sale. They said, if you get good grades, you go to university, get a bachelor's degree, spend all this money, you are guaranteed living the American dream, which really isn't a lot. It's you graduate, you get a decent job with health insurance, some benefits, retirement, you can get a house, white picket fence, have a stay-at-home parent, 3 kids. And that just isn't the case anymore. When I went to college, it was all about school. Good grades, never drinking, doing drugs, not partying, working my way through college, working a front desk in the dorms, being a resident assistant, student dean, and from that time, I think I went from $12 an hour at the front desk to $15 an hour student dean. Relatively close pay. Graduated, looked for a job, couldn't even really get on at Starbucks because I had no barista experience. My college degree was in business, but I had no business experience. So there was that. Try to go to a bank, no banking experience, and it goes on and on. You need experience to then get these jobs, even if they're entry level. But yet, how do you get the experience if you can't even get that entry-level position? Meanwhile, these universities just keep increasing more and more money to go to their schools, which then promise the American dream, which it really is a dream because you have to be asleep to have it. But they charge more and more money so that way they can build better stadiums, nicer pools, nicer cafeterias, all these things to attract as many young, gullible people as they can who haven't been taught financial knowledge yet. Their parents told them, you got to go to this university. You have to spend $80,000 to get in. And in the end, these schools don't have to guarantee you anything when you graduate. It's just come, get whatever degree you want, and then you're out. There's no counseling telling them, hey, this job will pay you X amount of dollars. You're spending X amount of dollars to come here. It's going to take you at least 5 years to pay it off. And that's probably if you're making more than the minimum amount in your student loan payments, which there is no way of bankrupting out of. So you are locked in to whatever that is without really any guidance of, is this a good choice? Is this a good career? And that, I think, is really criminal. It's better to probably go out and get some experience in the real world and figure out, hey, what pays me good money before going into college, university. And I don't know, maybe some people just go for a good time. It seems like these days people go to college who come from wealthy backgrounds already, or at least the schools that matter. I guess you're coming from money already, and it's FU money, it doesn't really even matter. And it seems that every job that has paid me hourly or on a salary basis has always ended up biting me in the ass in the end. So, for example, I've built up multiple coaching and personal training businesses over my life. Out of college, I was a personal trainer. I built up a great clientele basis at a gym. And then the gym came up and they were like, hey, Jeff, you're really successful. We would like you to manage the gym and then teach the personal trainers to build a business like you have. Which I thought, great, this is the next stepping stone in this business. I'm going to become, an assistant manager, and then maybe like a general manager. Thought that was the pathway set up for me. However, once I started working and I built the business to be more successful, I took a vacation from Idaho to Colorado, and I got stuck in a huge snowstorm in Colorado. This was over Christmas too. I couldn't make it back. It took me 2 days, and when I got back to home and I went into work, I found that there was a letter waiting for me stating that I was unreliable and that they had to let me go. And that the graciousness of their heart, they decided to let me still personal train. But at that point, I'd already given all my clients away to a lot of other trainers. They had moved on. And basically, I was then zeroed out. After putting in numerous hours above and beyond my salaried range. And that one excuse to get rid of me, and they pounced on it. And that's happened again and again. I have built up my own business, gotten a job that was supposedly a promotion, only then later to be let go once I accomplished the goals that they wanted. And I imagine they brought in someone else afterwards and just paid them less money. The next time this happened, I was working at a private gym as a trainer. Built up a really good clientele base again after being zeroed out from my last job. And I was doing pretty well. I had clients coming in. It was like a membership. They paid every month and they got training 1, 2, 3 times a week. And at the time, I was also being a professional athlete, so I was making a little bit of money from there. I was getting sponsorships. And I got a call because I had a contact in Oregon from Nike, and they offered me a job working as a quality assurance in the mobile running app. And they said, this is a great opportunity to get into tech if you want. And, this is the steps, start in QA, then get in development, and then you can get into more of the design and integration of our programs and apps. So I thought, great, this is a big corporation. They aren't gonna probably screw me over. And this is like a dream job. I mean, it's Nike. I would say a lot of people want to work there. So I went in and started working on the mobile app. And then I worked on the Nike Fuel Band, which was one of the first activity trackers before the Fitbit and, etc. And that was a great program too. Creating like the Nike Fuel, the little character Fuelie, and really taking that to really the next level until we hit a point when all the executives thought, let's not put any more money into this or resources. It's probably not really worth it. So then after that, it went to the TomTom watch, which then got basically integrated into the Apple Watch. So that ended. But we did build it up pretty well. Never once after being hired was there a meeting to talk about, okay, Jeff, these are your next steps. You've been putting in 60-hour weeks on average in this project. We would like, to retain you because obviously you come in every day, you're reliable, you put in the hours, you put in the work, you've come in at night for Scrum to basically work on the website when no one's on it at 2 a.m. We would like to keep this relationship going. Never once did that happen. And after these projects all ended, guess what happened? My position ended also. And after spending 3 years in that, you could imagine I've kind of been out of the job market. I haven't built up any experience outside of QA, so I'm not like an engineer. I don't know about integration, coding, etc. I just know hard goods. And in America, we don't really do that. And you need a degree to basically get into it. So that was kind of like a big waste of time, because after that, you're also zeroed out. And then you're like, maybe I can get a job at Starbucks. Well, you don't have barista experience. So I did land a job being a server, which was great, and built up another basically clientele in a restaurant. And then again, I get a job with a school as a counselor. And I thought, this is great. I like working with kids. I like being upbeat, energetic, hanging out. So dropped that off. Went into the school, and right away, after being offered the salary amount, my boss kept on saying, like, you're being paid too much money. And granted, it was $65,000 per school year, and then like another $8,000 for summer or something. And they did provide housing, so that was great. So all that money was basically able to go into savings and into my own pocket. But you did live on campus in a dorm room, and so it was kind of like tiny house living. But again, once things were going and they had an excuse to fire me, what did they do? They let me go, of course. So all these jobs are so unreliable. They want you to come in, dedicate your entire life to them, give your 2 weeks, maybe now I've heard a month notice, but I guarantee you, when they can get rid of you, there won't be any notice for you. It'll just be poof, hey, pack up your stuff, you're done, here's your last paycheck, goodbye. There ain't no warnings, nothing. And they'll make you even come into work that day, drive all the way there, which could be like, 30 minutes of getting ready, an hour-long commute, just to get there, and then them just to say, oh, never mind, we don't need you. And yet you're supposed to give in 2 weeks to a month notice. What are we doing? So that's basically a really long rant about the job market. My advice to anyone out there is, yes, have your 9-to-5 job, work a ton, have your regular W-2, do some gig work, make a lot of money, save it, and really think about, what can I do on my own? Because the only way to be unfireable in this economy is to be an entrepreneur, have your own business, build up your own clientele, be good to people, your clients at least, your customers. They're always right. And believe me, the customers that you have will be 1,000 times better than any manager really out there. Their customers are going to care about you a lot more. They're going to want you to succeed, your own well-being, because if you're providing a good product, whatever it is, they want you to be around, because probably they've been screwed over too. A lot of these big time corporations, they don't care. Their customers are so distant. And if you get a job, say it's at the front desk, you're a server, bartender, whatever it is in the service industry, treat everyone like they're your own personal customers, because it will teach you really great communication skills, customer service, and you can bring those, really just those two elements into your own business, and you'll be successful. I mean, the hard part is figuring out what your skill base is, what you can offer the people, and do it at a fair rate that people are willing to pay for it. And that way, you will be unfireable. And unemployment will be something that's just a thing of the past. It won't matter. You might lose a few clients, but you ain't losing all of them at once. It's a slow decline if you're losing them, and then you can figure out time to figure out why you're losing them. It's not, hey, I'm into the office, here's your last paycheck, good luck. Good luck in world. It's a tough place. But you know what? Our profits are more important. I really think the future, if you want to be successful and make money, is to venture out on your own. Have the entrepreneurial spirit, because no job is going to give you the promotions and the raises these days that you probably deserve. You could spend 5 years at the same job and you have the same role, and you can apply again and again for jobs that would be a promotion, but most likely they're just going to hire from outside, because when they promote you, they then need to hire someone else to come in your role, versus it might be easier just to hire someone in more of a management position above you than promote you, because they can just hire them at a lower rate, thus saving the whole company money, and then keep a cycle of just recycling people in and out of these jobs. And if they have to retrain someone for a couple weeks, it's really not a big deal, because every time someone quits and they bring someone else on, there's the possibility that they can lower the wages just a tad more, even if it's only like $1 or $1,000 on the salary. That's over time, could lead up to thousands upon thousands of dollars for these companies. And finally, in closing, this video is probably going to be really long, just a rant about the job market. If you want to make more money, if you want that raise, honestly, you need to work for yourself, because these companies aren't going to give that to you. Yeah, your own business. you're gonna start out not making any money. Heck, you'll probably lose money in the beginning, but with time, that's gonna grow. If you're doing a good job, people like you, then your income will steadily improve and get higher and higher. Definitely easier said than done, but you gotta start from the bottom. Even if it fails, it's life experience. It's something you can still put on the resume, say it was really successful. These companies are lying about their pay and expectations from the job, but it's always a lot more. They're lying, so you might as well do the same thing. It's just a recycled society out there. Unless you can create your own existence, it's really up to you now. There's too many people coming in from all over the world. They're gonna undercut you in the job market now, whether that's manual labor, at some of the resorts and customer service, at hotel chains. It's just rinse and repeat, recycle them. With your own, the sky's the limit. And I think that's the only way that you're gonna be able to afford to live in this great country, to have a home where you want, drive the car that you want, and live the life that you want.